Hey there, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and here I am in the car getting ready to head back to Maryland after a wonderful Heroes Con. I had a great time, but I definitely have some thoughts about it. And what I'm going to do is, once I get back home, I am going to go through all the footage and I'll break it down, and I'll be putting out some episodes about the show. I just don't know how I'm going to break it down yet, but I figured I'd put out this video right now and just give you some of my general thoughts and everything. But before I do that, definitely watch a little bit of the footage there, and then we'll come back and I will give you my thoughts on the show in general. All right, everybody, I just made it to Charlotte. I'm going to go inside now and pick up my tickets, and we'll see what's what. So hang on, I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and here I am on day one of Heroes Con outside of the Charlotte Convention Center. I've got a lot of books to get signed today, as well as the rest of the weekend, so sit back, enjoy some of the footage, and we'll come back and we'll do a show and tell at some point, and I'll talk all about the show. All right, guys, we just finished up here at day one of Heroes Con. Going to go back to the hotel, get everything reorganized, and get ready for day two. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, it's day two here for Heroes Con. I'm heading to the convention right now. I've got a lot of autographs to still get. We've got Roy Thomas, who's only going to be here today, so I've got to get in his line pretty early if I want to make sure I get him. Jerry Conway, the writer on Spider-Man, the man responsible for The Punisher, Death of Gwen Stacy, Death of the Green Goblin, going to be here as well. He's also going to be here on Sunday, so I need to get in his line. But I still have some other big names that I still need to get. Despite all the autographs I got on day one, there's still a lot more to do. Still have Jenny Frison, I still have Adam Hughes, I still have Scotty Young, and there's a host of other artists that I will eventually get around to, but I'll have to probably wait till late today or probably late tomorrow as well to get all of them. So join me for day two. I hope you enjoy some more of the footage, and I will be back soon. All right, guys, I just finished up day two here at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I had a great time. I think it was a record-breaking crowd today, and I got a ton of autographs that I will eventually do a show and tell with. So you'll have to stay tuned for that at some point. But I still have some autographs to get. I'll be back for day three, hopefully wrapping those up, get all the autographs I want, and then finally getting into looking for some good old back issues. So stay tuned, and I'll be back once again. Hey there, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and here I am in the car for day three of Heroes Con. I'm heading down now from the hotel, Going to get in that VIP line, get in there early, and I've got an exact plan today. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Unlike the last 2 days, I wasn't really sure until the moment I walked in which way I was headed, but today I'm heading right to the Scotty Young line. I've got books for him to sign, and once I get that done, I've only got a handful of other artists that I need to get autographs from, and then I'll eventually start looking for some comic books. And at the end of the day, I've got a greet and meet with John Romita Jr. It's about 30 people that are going to this thing, and that's going to be kind of cool. I've got books for him to sign. He's got a sketch that he's already done for each of us, so it could be pretty cool. I'll film everything I can, and then eventually we'll get this video out, and you guys can enjoy some of this from Heroes Con. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, that is a wrap for day 3 here at Heroes Con. I just finished up with the greet and meet with John Romita Jr. So I'll be showing off the books I got signed from there, as well as everything else I got signed here at Heroes Con. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I didn't show you a lot right there, but I will tell you this, that if you've never been to Heroes Con and you're a comic book fan, I mean, I'm talking about whether you're into buying comics or whether you're into the autographs, but I mean, I'm not talking about celebrities, I'm not talking about movies or anything like that. This right here is one of the best cons you can ever come to in terms of just being a fan of comic books, getting to meet the creators. I mean, it's fantastic. And I don't know about anybody else, but I know my overall impression of the show was I've never seen as many creators as I've seen this time. And I've been coming for the last few years, and it is a big list. And every year I print out, I copy that guest list and I put it into a file that I print out, and I know how many pages that takes. And this year it was a little bit longer than last year, although I didn't make it last year. The years prior to that, definitely this guest list was just enormous. And it wasn't that, yes, it was a lot of people, a lot of creators, but it was a lot of top name creators too. And for somebody like me who loves autographs, I mean, it is my favorite part of the hobby. I love getting books signed. I love getting books signed by multiple creators. And this was a feeding ground for that kind of thing. And I would say it actually affected my weekend, but this is a 3-day con. And my overall impression of the show was this show was so big for somebody like me that I actually probably could have used a 4th day in there. Even though I've got nearly probably 90% of everything I brought with me signed, there were still a few misses. There were a couple that I just could not get to because some of the lines, some of the popularity was so fast, so intense that you had to make a choice. And I made some sacrifices along the way. I probably made some bad choices. At the time, I probably thought they were right choices. Saturday, for example, my number one choice was to get Jerry Conway. And I went in. That was my intention. Even though he was going to be here 2 days, you never know. I could have postponed that to Sunday, and gotten Roy Thomas, who was only here on Saturday. But it's one of those things. I've gotten Roy Thomas before. Well, with Conway, I wasn't going to take a chance. I wanted to get that and get it taken care of. And if I had chance later in the day on Saturday, yeah, I would go buy Roy Thomas. But that line was huge for Roy Thomas. And to be quite honest, in my opinion, I don't get it quite that much. Well, somebody who sells comics, I mean, I don't see Roy Thomas as a name that actually moves books. And for books that you need stuff on, well, what I came down to with, I didn't really have anything that I really wanted him on other than some really nice facsimiles of some of his bigger books. I mean, I didn't even feel like getting him on the original books, to be honest with you. And quite honest, even though I had some Hulk 181s, the facsimiles that I would have probably gotten Roy Thomas on, I don't even believe in that. And I guess I think that probably affected my mindset with somebody like Roy Thomas. But anyway, I'm rambling. Point is that I got Conway on Saturday, and then I was able to get a lot of other stuff done because of that choice. If I had done it the other way around, maybe the choices wouldn't have worked out. And I will say that on Saturday, getting Jenny Frison, I mean, I literally finished everything I brought for her, and I brought more books for Jenny Frison than anybody else at this show, and she knocked them out all in one setting. And I don't know if I'd made the other choice with Roy Thomas if things would have worked out quite that way. But again, overall, the show, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic for somebody who's an autograph collector. I just didn't have enough time. I ended up missing Daniel Warren Johnson, and that wasn't a big deal either because he had just been to Third Eye Comics, my LCS in the Annapolis, Baltimore, D.C. area. So most of the books that he had, his bigger books, the Transformers, and there were some other things, I'm sure. I can't even remember what I got signed at this point. Got signed. But since then, that Wolverine issue with that black and white cover came out, and it was super popular. I go by his table. He had nothing but those books laid out. I didn't see any Transformers stuff out on his table. It was nothing but that Wolverine issue and posters of that. And man, people were lined up like crazy to get him. And so all I had with me was a couple of second printings of that Wolverine issue. So I passed on Daniel Warren Johnson. That was fine. There were a couple others that, in a lot of cases, I know I will see them at other shows. People like Keith Williams, he shows up at various shows. It's not hard to get. It's just I didn't have time to get to his table to get the one book I needed signed. And that sounds silly with a show that runs for 3 straight days and you think you have all this time. But a lot of your time is spent waiting in line for a lot of these bigger names, and had to make sacrifices along the way. I also know that there were a few others that, like Keith Williams, that will probably be in Baltimore or up in the northern area there later this year. Not too worried about them at all. But I ended up being very successful in getting most of the other stuff signed. When I put out my other shows, I will end up doing a breakdown. I'll probably break it down into a small batch. With as many books as I got, I cannot do one show and just show you everything I got signed. So I'll probably do is break down shows in sequence of the artist. I will break it down. I did this with Baltimore a little bit. We'll see what the footage is like. That's one thing I haven't done, is gone through all of the footage, and I'll have to see what it was like. There was definitely going to be some footage from the John Romita Jr. private greet and meet that happened at the end of the day on Sunday. We'll definitely show you some of that. That was pretty cool. It was a nice experience. Next time, I would buy 2 passes. They were $250 a piece. Get 10 autographs, actually 11, because he signed the print that they had there as well as get a sketch. And overall, I had probably about 20 books. And if thinking back, hindsight being 2020, his autographs are $25 a piece, and they may go up next year. Who knows? I would have saved money if I had just bought 2 passes to this signing event myself, this greet and meet. So we'll see about that, but I will show you some footage of that. He told some stories. I got some footage on that. I may just break that down into its own video. But this is sort of this is going to be a weird episode, guys. If you're still listening, the This is a wrap up to the show, my final commentary, but it's not really true because it's more of an introductory to all the shows that are going to be coming up, and it's going to be interesting. One of the other things that was very interesting was just the amount of YouTubers that were there. I did stop and say hi to Comics Den. They were the only YouTubers really that I stopped and talked to. I did see Reggie Collects walking around in his tank top and these bulging muscles. I saw Mike from Lunch Money Comics several times. I'll tell you, I'm absolutely shocked. I would have never picked him out in a crowd. On camera, I always imagined him being about 6'1", 6'2". Does a great job of editing. I've got to learn some things from him because he's shorter than me. He's not a very big person. But if he had just been walking around, I probably would not have even noticed him. But he's very good about walking around with the camera and talking to himself, filming himself. And I'm very self-conscious in public like that. I could get distracted and I will just flub up really bad. But he was very good at that. I saw him several times, but I never got a chance to say hi. I'm trying to think if I know there were a couple others. It was great for anybody I got to meet there. I thank you guys. There was at least about a dozen people came up to me, or at least, hey, I watched your show. It was kind of cool. I mean, even out in the street there in Charlotte on day one, well, not even day one, the day before picking up my tickets, somebody says, hey, I know you. You're on YouTube. And, he had watched a little bit. It was very cool. And it makes me feel like what I'm doing is, I don't know if it's necessarily entertaining, but I think it's relatable to a lot of people. I describe myself as the everyday, the everyman kind of collector. I'm not the guy who's into always doing one thing. I mean, yes, I talk about being my favorite thing is about getting the autographs, but I'm also into collecting the books. I am not necessarily runs all the times, but old books, new books. I do new comic book days every week, you know that. But I also do comic book calls. I do CGC. I do a little bit of everything. And that's why I kind of call myself sort of the everyman collector. Well, it was cool meeting everybody. I did make it by JSA. Well, sort of, yes. CGC to drop off a couple of orders that I was going to have them use JSA to verify the signatures on there. This was not a big CGC show for me. There was so much prep work that went into the preparation for the autographs. And I will tell you this, the amount of autographs I've got, I mean, I literally have 4 short boxes filled up with autographs. It was a massive amount of time. What I didn't have time for back home was to get a lot of the keys that I've got. I've got some big keys sitting there in the accounts, ready to go into clean and press, but they weren't ready for this show, so I couldn't submit them to CGC. I've got my Hulk 181 sitting there. I've got a New Mutants 98. I've got the Brave and the Bold, the first appearance of Hawkman in the Silver Age. I can't even remember the issue numbers. The 36. First appearance of Iron Fist sitting right there. There's some keys. There's some big books sitting right there. Just they need that clean and press, but I couldn't get them in time for this show. The only books I ended up submitting were books that had signatures that I wanted to have verified and graded. And of the 4 books in the 2 orders, only one of them is one that's going to be a potential for sale. The other 3 are completely 100% just for me. They were PC books and books I wanted in my PC. I wanted them signed. It's something I wanted. So even the CGC footprint at this show for me was very limited. The on-site grading line, I mean, it exploded. I was in the lines for Chris Claremont first day, and CGC's only a few booths down. And the amount of people that were in line to drop their books off for on-site grading was enormous. And I never heard anybody talk about it. I never even talked to anybody about how their grading was at the show, although I did hear people talk about it in preparation for Heroes Con, talking about that they feel like the graders that they bring to these on-site grading like this, they're not your B-level graders. They're going to be your best graders. So you're going to get maybe a more accurate grade at a show like this than it would be if you just went back to Florida. And that's an interesting take. Maybe it's true. One of the reasons I don't necessarily like the on-site grading, and you would think, okay, maybe it's because of the price. Well, not really. The price, I've worked up the prices before when it was in Baltimore last year, and at a certain point, it actually makes sense financially to do it. And I don't remember what that threshold is, but there's definitely a threshold where it does make sense. And of course, if you're doing a flip and you need those books back quick, yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing, the reason I don't particularly like it is I do like to have the option of the custom labels, and I do think that's a very important to the overall presentation to a book, whether it's for your collection or for sale. I think it does matter. I think it does look good. That's one of the reasons PSA, with that new label, they've redesigned their label. I still think it looks like garbage. It looked like garbage on the prototype. It looks like garbage now, and it sort of kind of goes back to the label. The whole thing was CBCS. The label should not affect the book. It's all about the book. Well, it's not. If it's in an ugly packaging, it's going to affect the way you feel about something. I mean, I come from a world of advertising. I was a graphic designer, art director for over 35 years. I still freelance. I still freelance these days. Well, I think the packaging affects. I know the packaging affects the consumer, the viewer, and I think it's very important that the label be incorporated into the overall package. It really is. It physically is right there. So why would you not want to make that as desirable as possible instead of making it look like horseshit like CBCS did for years? Well, PSA is going down that exact same thing. It is absolutely awful. And in the end, it probably won't matter. I mean, everybody talked about this a few weeks ago when the news broke and they got the new labels out there. All the big channels were doing PSA reviews of the new label, the new packaging, everything, and everybody agrees. Yeah, it's awful, but what's going to come down to is how much value is a book going to sell for versus CGC. So we'll see how that goes. But my point being is that on-site grading, that's one of the reasons I don't like it that much. Also, I'm kind of cheap sometimes, and again, the price does affect it. And most of the time, I don't need my books that quick. So hopefully by the time we get to Baltimore, I will be able to have a lot more books ready to go. I will be, after the show, after I get back to Maryland, I will start getting some of those big keys I mentioned into the press. We may submit them. Most likely, I will get them ready to go, and depends on the upcoming CGC signings. If there's somebody I need, I will try to coordinate that with an order from there. So it will definitely go in with a signature series book. That way the package gets opened up a little bit quicker. So in the end, I'm not losing that much money by not just dropping it off the show. You save that FedEx fee, that mailing fee going down. But if I package it with several other orders, it's not that big of a deal. So anyway, enough about PSA, about CGC and stuff like that. We'll follow up with them. You will see a little bit of that in one of the videos at some point. I'm trying to think what else is in there. Oh, and my big takeaway. So the whole point of reason I wanted to do this sort of evaluation of HeroesCon and introduction to all the videos that are going to be coming up, I want to talk about, what did I talk about the whole time? The whole weekend was about autographs for me. And because of the lines, I did not once make it to a vendor to look at a comic book. I mean, I walked by it 1,000 times going back from one side of the room to the other to get to a line for a signing, but the lineup was so good, the lines were enormous, and I got down to it. I had a half hour left on Sunday before I had to go to the Ramita signing, greet and meet. to look for comics, and at that point I'm not going to rush it. There are plenty of great dealers that I've bought from before, and I'm probably going to regret that, but I guess it's one of those, you're better off not knowing what you missed than to take a quick look and realize that you didn't have enough time to really evaluate and pick up some really good books. There are some great dealers that were here that I've dealt with in the past, and I just didn't have time. And this ended up, for the first time in years, one of the first cons, big cons that I've gone to, that I didn't buy any comic books. No comic books, very little on the prints. I didn't buy prints from many of the artists. In fact, I'm looking at it, I think I only got the one print from Romita. I didn't even buy prints at the show. It was all about the autographs. And man, there was no comic books. And I feel bad about that. I don't know how you guys feel about that kind of thing. But for years, I wasn't buying a lot of back issues. I'd buy occasionally, but my interest really did lie, and still lies, in the autographs. The autograph and the meeting the creators. So that's going to be one of the takeaways, and I guess that's the main reason I'm probably doing this video right now, is that you're not going to get a video with a comic book haul, because there is no comic book haul this weekend. There was nothing but autographs, and that's the kind of you're going to get a lot of those shows coming up, and I'll show off a lot of books. And the intention really for me was there's going to be a lot of books that are going to go in my PC, but there's also going to be a lot of books that I'm going to make available to people if you are interested in these things. So look for the upcoming videos. It will take me a little while to get these things edited, because I let the camera roll. You know, I'm like Sicky Goose Jr., except I'm really a lot nicer. I've got the strap-on device that has the camera on there, and I walk around with that thing, and it's filming a lot of the time, and it's just random stuff. And you know, I've got to go through every minute of video to edit out just the waste that I film all the time. And I'm going to try to break it down into, we'll see how many episodes I actually get out of this, but guys, you'll have to stay tuned for that. I look forward to getting those things out. And that's about it. So guys, if you have enjoyed this little ramble today, definitely give me a like, slap that subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes about this con and about all the other comic book hauls and CGC boxings I've got coming up. I've got a lot of shows already in the queue scheduled, but we'll also have a lot of shows coming up from Heroes Con. So just definitely hit that subscribe. What did I say? Hit the bell so you'll be notified when these episodes come out. I put these shows out every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday at 8 p.m. It's due to my job. Sometimes I'll go live on the shows and do commentary and stuff, and I'll talk. You guys are welcome to join me at 8 p.m. on the 3 days. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy those episodes. And I definitely want to hear from you guys. If I met you at the show, definitely make a comment down below so I can remember who I met, and definitely give a shout out to you guys. And if you have a comment on anything else about the show, if you went, if you got books signed, what did you get signed? I'd love to know anything. So guys, that is it for right now. I hope you enjoyed this episode and all the upcoming future episodes. Until then, though, remember, every comic has a story.